Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to our webinar, which is focused today on women's health. My name is Kellyanne Traveley-Hack, and I'm the General Manager of Canning's Employees Credit Union, and I'll be moderating this evening's session. As women, we carry a lot on our plates, and sometimes we need to be everything to everyone all at once, juggling a lot of balls in the air. And as we go along, we ignore the little things our body may be telling us, signaling that we need to slow down or we need to take better care of ourselves. And then added to that, we also live in a world of Google and social media, so that if we have a headache, we're just not, feeling like ourselves, Google tells us that it could be anything from an aneurysm to cancer. So today's session is going to focus on women's health and the things that we need to look out for, and also what we need to do as we go along in life. So before I introduce you to our presenter, just a few housekeeping rules. Microphones are going to be muted during the presentation. However, if you have questions, you can place them in the chat box during the presentation, and then they'll be answered during the Q&A session. During the Q&A session, if you'd like to ask a question, you can raise your hand and your mic will be unmuted. If not, you can utilize the chat box. So joining us today is none other than Dr. Asante Van West Charles LeBlanc. Dr. LeBlanc is a Cuban-born Guyanese mother of 5, wife, doctor, clinical densitometrist, and medical herbalist. Dr. LeBlanc's passion is to help guide individuals on their road to optimum health. So in her practice, she integrates complementary traditional medicine with conventional Western medicine. After losing her grandmother to cancer, she decided to do something more for persons affected by this terrible disease. So she began working with the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society, one of this country's longest standing NGOs. She has served as the TTCS chairperson for 5 years and currently still serves as a member of the board of directors. Dr. LeBlanc has been the face and voice of the organization, working to change the landscape of cancer through screening and education in Trinidad and Tobago. She has also made significant strides in taking the TTCS into new territories, pioneering an agenda for policy change. Dr. LeBlanc loves reading, listening to music, dancing, and being around her family and friends. And if you know her at all, she loves to laugh. One of her many goals is to promote healthy lifestyles and healing using Eastern and Western medicine. A very, very warm welcome to you this evening, Dr. LeBlanc, and we look forward to a very engaging session with you. So I now hand things over to you.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Good afternoon. How are you? Hope everything is okay. Good afternoon to everyone out there. So I'm going to start to share my screen, Kellyanne, so that we can get that going. Right. So today is the lovely topic of menopause, the healthy transition towards and beyond. So what is menopause? Menopause, from a medical standpoint, is a natural period in a woman's reproductive life where we expect hormonal changes, a decrease in estrogen. But the clinical definition is when a woman has had no period, no menstrual period for a year completely, consecutively, and it can be natural or induced or premature. But is menopause just one big change? Does it just happen overnight, or are there steps to menopause? You guessed it right. There are many steps. So we start in the reproductive life of a woman. We hit perimenopause, where the changes, the hormones start to fluctuate in terms of their concentrations. Pardon me, concentrations. Then we hit menopause, and then after the year with no period, then a woman becomes postmenopausal. You may ask yourself, what the hell is perimenopause then? I mean, isn't it enough that we have menopause? Then there's something else. So this is when the hormones are changing. And the hormones we're speaking about are LH, or luteinizing hormone, FSH, or follicular stimulating hormone, estrogen, and progesterone. So during perimenopause, you can have different symptoms, or you could have just one. But it can include intermittent spotting, longer periods, shorter periods, more frequent periods that you're seeing your period twice or three times a month, mood changes, slight night sweats, some bloating, digestive issues, or just feeling out of sorts. So if you look here, you'll see that this is mirroring what happens. So this is estrogen, FSH, or follicular stimulating hormone, and LH, or luteinizing hormone. So here we go, and we're going along your reproductive age, and we're going good. All estrogen is up there high, luteinizing and FSH are going and increasing. We hit perimenopause. LH and FSH keep increasing, but estrogen goes down. So why is this? Why is that happening? Very simple. Let me explain that before. What happens is that FSH and LH are actually coming from your brain, from the pituitary gland, and they go towards the ovary. And then the ovary will produce the estrogen. But we are coming to an expected transition in our reproductive cycles. And therefore, your ovaries have come to, dare I say, a different stage in life. And therefore, the ovaries are not going to be secreting as much estrogen. Everything works on a feedback loop. What does this mean? As the estrogen concentration is mirrored or monitored via the pituitary gland, chemoreceptors in the pituitary gland in the brain, then it says, okay, time for FSH, time for LH, because it's for you really and truly for us to ovulate and have a period. Of course, because then it's not sensing estrogen, it keeps increasing the secretion of FSH and LH to the ovaries, which cannot produce any more estrogen because we're going into the natural decline. Perimenopause. So what do we do at this time? This is the time that we can be proactive as young women. We have to take stock and start making changes if you haven't done so already. And it's about little physical, mental, and dare I say spiritual changes or tweaks. Speak to your sister and to your doctor. Important to get a checkup because we need to make sure that it is not something pathological, meaning there's not something causing those fluctuations that is not expected. And then also there's certain blood tests that should be run to make sure everything is okay. Here's a little biology for you. And I usually don't do this, but I think it's important for you to understand so that when we start talking, we can figure out all about HRT and everything else. So ladies, from conception, from the minute that sperm hit that egg and your sex is determined as XX and you're going to be a female, your ovaries start to go through hormonal changes. So once your ovaries develop, the hormonal changes are there and your eggs in the ovaries are paused in a certain phase of division. So they're paused from when we're in a fetus. And then we're born, they're still paused, then comes puberty, and the eggs start to divide every month with ovulation, but they don't complete their division until they're fertilized. So I want you to keep that in mind because we're talking about millions of eggs that are paused in a state of division when we are fetuses, And then we're going to then, after puberty, 2 by 2, 1 by 1, depending on how much eggs want to ovulate at that time, we're going to have them dispersed from the ovary. So here we go. This is your pituitary gland, and it's then going to secrete LH and FSH. That's going to then stimulate the ovary. Estrogen is going to be produced and then the ovary will release that egg or the ova. That's when LH surges, because that's when that's released, and that is ovulation. And that's when you can get pregnant. The egg comes from the ovary, goes to the fallopian tube, and around this region here, it's fertilized, and this is where it starts to implant. It travels down after fertilization, and then it implants here in your uterus. And then if all goes well, you're pregnant. Again, this is the feedback loop that I'm telling you about. So when estrogen is produced, it goes back up to the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus. And then it says, okay, you have enough, you don't have enough. And that's how it's all monitored and balanced in a normal, balanced, functioning reproductive woman and in our cycle. So menopause. Menopause and the whole transition is very multifaceted. Oops, sorry, what's that? Right, it's multifaceted. It can be natural or induced. And I like to say that menopause is like a hydra of women's issues. And if anybody remembers Greek mythology or knows about it, if you watch Percy Jackson, if you had children or anything like that, a hydra is this huge mythical dragon-like animal, and it has many heads. But every time you cut off one head, about 3 grow back. And that's what menopause seems to be like. And it seems to be getting more and more pronounced as we move, as we develop as a population and as humans. And I'm trying to figure out if it's because we're more open and we're speaking to each other more, if it's just that AI has taken control of our social media, and the minute we say the word menopause, that's all that floods us. But it's definitely much more pronounced, and different things are being blamed on menopause. But whatever it is, menopause itself and perimenopause, that entire transition, can lead to many other issues. Everybody thinks it's just about getting hot. So I like to put that, it's getting hot in here, but it's not only that. As Kellyanne stated, we as women we juggle so many things. And with the revolution of our foremothers, we got to work. But then, as I tell my grandmother, who was a feminist, we got to work, but they never took us out the kitchen. So we're still in the house, we're still the nurturers, we're still doing everything in the house and working and balancing everything. And then it's just going, we're like the biggest circus act around town in the family. What are some common symptoms of the change? Night sweats, hot flashes, abnormal uterine bleeding, meaning you're just spotting, insomnia, decreased libido. I'm sure all of you are going, yeah, putting up the hand if there are men in the audience saying, oh, yep, that's her. Weight gain, fatigue, depression, anxiety. I mean, it is a lot. And this is why I said it's like a hydra, because here you go. And this is not even the full gamut, because you can go to joint pain, hypertension, cholesterol, you can even osteoporosis, which is your bone health. And that's all due to the decrease of, I just found so many, because look at this has much more. Palpitations, the dryness, frequent UTIs or urinary tract infections, headaches, thinning of hair, loss of memory or that memory fog. Like a friend called me and she says, I go to the fridge and I can't remember what I went to the fridge for. I got to go back like 3 times before I remember what I went for. Ringing in the ears and itching ear, night sweats, hot flashes, loss of muscle tone, dry skin, and the list goes on. I'm not saying this to depress you. I'm saying, yes, this is all true. And it is a hydra of issues, but it doesn't mean that we can't embrace this change and survive this change. But most importantly, go through this journey very positively. So that's the hydra, in case anyone hasn't seen it. So with Western medicine, we say menopause is a decrease in estrogen primarily, as I showed you, because of the feedback loop. In traditional Chinese medicine, we say there's a kidney yin-yang deficiency, a blood deficiency in the kidney, heart, liver, spleen meridians, and a liver qi stagnation, and possibly liver yin-yang deficiency as well. Now, in traditional Chinese medicine, the meridians are the energy pathways in the body, and there are 12 meridians, and they're mirrored in the body, and then there's some extra vessels. So Chinese medicine, according to traditional Chinese medicine, yes, and according to Western medicine, and it's the same thing, it's just different languages. We expect a change, we expect a decrease, but expecting that decrease doesn't mean you can't be proactive. So it's almost like if I'm saying to you, I know I want to buy a house. I have my overdraft and I have my savings. So when I'm ready to buy that house, I'm ready for that reduction in everything because it's going to be a hell of a spend. So that is what we're talking about, being proactive, having that money in that account ready for that hell of a spend, ready for that drain, ready for that, so that you can survive it and live to tell the tale and enjoy your house, right? Because there is supposed to be an amazing life postmenopausal. Can we test for menopause? Should we test for menopause? And then what do we test? Like, is it supposed to be a normal cycle? Like, why are we testing? We can test different hormones. That is true. Should we test? When symptoms are extremely, extremely severe and when nobody knows what's going on, then testing is recommended because we need to know if it is that your hormones have gone really low, if there's something else, is your testosterone too high, too low, what is going on? And so what do we test? Basic metabolic testing should be done, including your thyroid, diabetes check, cholesterol, kidney, liver, and then hormones. The hormones that should be tested should be your FSH and your estrogen primarily, but then sometimes we can add prolactin, progesterone, and testosterone along with LH. So testing should be decided upon by your physician. I know a lot of ladies like to go to the lab and say, I think I'm in menopause. Let's test all my hormones. Or sometimes I get patients coming into me saying, I must be in menopause or perimenopause or something. Just test my hormones. I know everything is low. And you're like, but how do you know that? So testing really is determined on an individual basis. You don't necessarily have to test. And let me explain that. If we are proactive and if we're balancing our body as we should, and if you're doing your annual checkups, your preventative checkups, you're screening for cancers, you're screening for chronic disease, then the reality is that you will be able to see what you have to do, get your body in balance, be more proactive, so that when that transition starts to occur, it's not going to be a big jolt to your body, and you may not have to do any specific hormone testing. What can we do when we speak about menopause? You know, it's very holistic what we can do. Number one is your diet, exercising, so be it aerobics, weight training, yoga, Pilates, to name a few, swimming, Zumba, Latin dance. You could do one or you could do all. You could enjoy what you want. There are herbs that we can use in Chinese formulas as well. Meditation, sometimes we need to do that. Acupuncture and cupping are very important. And hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, is also an option for menopause. Annual checkups. Screening for breast, cervical, and colorectal cancer when the time is right, ladies. Very, very important. Listening to your body, speaking to your doctors, and most importantly, not giving up. You know, and I may look young and I may appear as though there isn't a care in the world, but I tell you this, that I'm hearing time and time again, women going through this change and they feel so alone and they feel like it's a pressure cooker, and it's not only the heat, and besides the heat that we're feeling internally, there's another climate changes. You see, you're feeling heat externally, so you're not sure if you're sweating because it's hot outside or you're hot inside. You're not sure where the heat coming from, and it's just, it seems like if you're going crazy. But there's so much we can do to be proactive, so we go through this change so healthily and, dare I say, happily, embracing that transition that's going to happen. And also, while we're going through from perimenopause to menopause, understanding the changes and then using minor tweaks so that we enjoy that transition and we're not suffering through it and feeling negative about our bodies. So some of the herbs that we can use include wild yam, Rehmannia. It includes Rehmannia 6, Rehmannia 8, Bohi 1, maca, rose or primrose, yin yang ho, which is also known as horny goat weed, damiana, cinnamon, vitex, dangui, black cohosh, wild yam, wan chi, which is astragalus, gardenia, white peony, and hawthorn, to mention a few. So the thing about it, it's never going to be one shoe fits all, one size fits all, one herb fits all. It has to be individualized. It has to be thought out. You have to see the patterns from a Chinese medicine perspective and from a Western perspective to see what is needed. Not every woman needs the same HRT. Not every woman needs the same herb. And that is what I want you to get today. I want you to understand that while, yes, it's one thing that we all have to go through from a reproductive standpoint, but it's never going to be the same. And we know that. It's like everything in life. Everything has an individual tweak to it. So I said, let me talk about a few of the symptoms so that we can go through it and understand it. Insomnia. Insomnia. Now, sleep is important for optimum health and support of our bodies. And it's important because we then get to avoid issues such as weight gain, depression, anxiety, hypertension, just not feeling right. But falling asleep and waking up at a particular time is what can happen during the perimenopause and menopause phase. And why is this happening? Again, the balance of the meridians is off. So what do we need to do? So then there are different herbs we can use. There are different exercises such as Qigong, Tai Chi, you know. So you don't have to just say, oh God, I can't sleep, it's menopause, and then don't sleep for the rest of your life. You don't have to say, oh God, it's hot in here, and then you're just suffering through like if it's an oven you're living in for the rest. Because you know what the thing is? There is no prescribed time. You could ask your mommy, your tanty, your granny, and you say, how was your menopause? When did you go through your menopause? And they're going to be like, some of the older women go, girl, I didn't even know that was happening. Some might go, well, it was just there now, I don't remember. I mean, it's so different and varied, but now we are more aware of our bodies. There's a lot more that we're aware of, but not only that, our lifestyles have changed. So we wake up much earlier to get on the road to go to work. Those of you who work out of the home, you know, we have to do much more. We may party a little more. There's so many different factors. So our change, our perimenopause change may not be the same as our foremothers. And then our menopause time may not be the same. We say menopause, a year without a period. But do you know, I have had patients that go through 11 months without a period, and on the 12th month, the period comes back. So what then? So I say this to you because nothing is going to be written in stone, and this is when it's going to happen for you, and this is when it's going to happen for you. And that is why I want to encourage you to be proactive, to listen to your body, but don't wait. So the younger women out there, if you think, when it ain't coming to me yet, don't worry about it. It coming, and it might come faster than you think. So we want you to be proactive. And for those of you who are going through, it's not all for naught. There's so many things you can do right now that will help stave off what you're feeling and help you feel so much better from an emotional, physical, and mental standpoint. So insomnia, for example, what do I recommend? Simple things. I mean, we can start with Tulsi. Tulsi is holy basil, having Tulsi tea. You can do cucumber water. You can do cucumber with a little bit of salt on it. You can have walnuts. And all of these are yin building. So we want to build the yin to allow for the spirit to rest, because if yin is balanced, then it can control the yang, which is those fires all of a sudden and that heat all of a sudden, and allow the spirit to rest. And then you can get proper sleep and effective sleep. What is effective sleep? Waking up and saying, oh, I'm ready to face the world. Not waking up and going, oh God, I feel like I didn't sleep. That is not effective sleep. So, you know, things like that, chamomile, tulsi, sometimes I mix them. Sometimes I use golden milk, which is the turmeric with the ginger. Some people like almond milk. I grew up on a cow farm. I still like cow's milk and some cinnamon in it. So, you know, there are different things that we can use to help sleep. Acupuncture, cupping, to help balance the body. These are all options. You know, I spoke to you about a diet. So I'm sure most of you are saying, well, what the hell is a good diet? Like, what is a diet? And then I'll tell you, eat a balanced diet, eat as natural as possible. Don't fall for the fads. That means don't wake up today and what TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, what it shows you, you go, okay, I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to do, you know, all these things, because AI comes to you and it gives you all these things because it sees you searching something sometimes. I told you about the yin tonifying foods. This includes lamb, goat, duck, dal, walnuts, cucumbers, watermelon, red kidney beans. Those are all yin tonifying food. Châtain, if you can believe it. So asparagus when it comes into season, although we don't grow asparagus here. So these are all examples of yin tonifying foods, and these are things we want to eat. But not only that, we want to eat as natural as possible. That means, where did we come from? What's our ancestry in terms of food? What did we grow up eating? You know, how do we prepare our foods? Those are things that we have to go back to basics, avoiding a lot of preserved foods, avoiding a lot of white sugars, white flours, you know, using our green seasonings, our thyme, our shadow benny, our onion, the garlic, chive or shallot as we call it in Guyana, you know, all those things are so important. Your mints, your turmerics, your gingers, your cardamom, your aniseed, your fennel, all those are so important. Your jeera, you know, your masala, all are very important in terms of how we season our foods, naturally speaking, and not using a lot of preservatives. So these are herbs that I told you about that can aid sleep in terms of skullcap, ashwagandha, valerian, California poppy, catnip, disour, jujube date, albizia, and bacopa. Why did I put the foods before the herbs? Because it's not only the herbs, and it's not only the acupuncture, it's not only the cupping, it's that eating correctly, exercising, having a balanced emotional state, plus the herbs can all give you a better sleep cycle. And all, not only, and you know, the thing about herbs is that when used correctly, they're not plasters on sores, but they support the body, they support the meridians to help for optimum balance. So it's not that if you stop it, it won't happen. So some people say, I take ashwagandha, but it's not working, because maybe that's not all that you need. And that is where it comes in, that we have to identify the patterns, understand what's going on, and create a better formula for you. So it may not be one or the other. So this is what I told you about what you can eat, all the beans, the ground provisions, so important, the cassava, the sweet potatoes, the yams, the green fig, the plantains, very important to have. You know, some people say, you know, oh, I get in a punch, you know, I can't eat this and I can't eat that. Let me tell you something. Moderation and balance is key. And knowing how you cook your food, being mindful about how you eat, along with using the correct foods, can help you so much. Avoiding cold, raw foods in the mornings, you know, understanding the heat, the warming foods such as maybe an oatmeal with cinnamon, a khichdi, a dal and rice, you know, warm foods in the morning, making sure you exercise, making sure you have that water, making sure you have the teas, using those foods to do that are yin tonifiers, having the cucumbers, the watermelon, or, you know, sometimes just those little tweaks will make a huge difference. And I can attest to that personally, as I suspect I'm going into perimenopause. And so I began practicing what I preach, because I've always been proactive about my health, but now it's like, okay, something is still missing. And therefore, and so that's, I want you to understand that it will never be perfect. But if you listen to your body, then you know, have I missed something? Is there a tweak? Or you can reach out to a professional to help you as well. Low libido. The amount of women that come to me and tell me, I have no desire for sex, I don't want sex, I don't give a damn, and first of all, my vagina is dry. That is so common in both perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. And this is primarily due, from a Chinese medicine perspective, to kidney yin-yang deficiency. From a medical perspective, it's low estrogen, progesterone, and even testosterone. So that lack of desire, the vaginal dryness, it's normal. You're not abnormal. And I want you to understand that, but I want you to also say, if you have a partner and you used to enjoy sex, know that there's still that possibility for the intimacy. And it's all about quality versus quantity for you out there, both men and women, to understand. So what can we do? Acupuncture, there are herbs, we can do cupping, formulas, but most importantly, it's important for you to embrace it, speak about it, so that we can identify and see what's really going on. Acupuncture. Acupuncture really is small needles, and we use different protocols. We tonify the meridians, we can disperse the energy, we can clear the energy. But what we're aiming to do is to bring optimum balance to the body. You would be amazed at how those little needles, when put in the correct points, can then cause or support proper hormonal balance. And get this, it's not giving you hormones. It's balancing your body according to where it's supposed to be, right? So it's important for you to understand that, because remember I told you that menopause could be induced or premature. So a woman may have, for example, maybe had to have a hysterectomy early in life, so she's gone into premature menopause. Maybe she had fibroids and they took out just the uterus but left the ovaries. So she didn't have a period, but then her menopause starts later on and she didn't remember that. You may have had a bout of cancer, chemo, radiation, and you've gone into premature menopause, or primary premature ovarian failure, where your ovaries just stop working earlier. Whatever the cause, almost always the symptoms of menopause and perimenopause and menopause are almost always the same. So you can treat it as long as we understand the patterns that we're seeing. So we're not thinking of when it happened, how it happened. We're looking at the patterns that are in the body to understand what is needed to help Jane, to help Mary, to help Asante, to help Kellyanne, to help whoever. And acupuncture is amazing at that, because acupuncture really helps when we balance the body. So let's say I find a kidney deficiency with a heart imbalance, with liver blood deficiency, and then I use the prescribed protocols according to traditional Chinese medicine, and then you start to feel good. You know, and it's amazing how it's supporting the body. Then when you start to feel that vibrancy, then you say, oh, you know what? I feel like exercising. You know what? I feel like doing this. So we give you back that oomph with support through tonifying those meridians. So I've said all of that. So what can we really do? You know, I tell people, first of all, don't be afraid or shy to talk about it with your partners or your doctors. Know that it's a holistic pathway, and it's not something we have to be afraid of. It's not something that we should say, oh God, it's coming. Or we say, oh, I'm looking forward to menopause because no more period, no more pads, no more tampons. But let's think of it holistically. And that means our diet, what we're eating, how we're eating, when we're eating, exercising, hormone replacement therapy, the herbs and the acupuncture and cupping, and always speaking to your doctor so that you have your checkups done, you're getting, you know, you're seeing the changes in your body. Am I telling you that if we do all of this and we're proactive, that you're not going to have that possible 5-pound weight gain, that you're not? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if we're proactive and we start small weight lifting before the transition occurs, we're helping our bone health. We're helping our cardiovascular health, because when the estrogen declines, that is when we, the women, become more at risk for cardiovascular disease or heart disease, for bone problems such as osteoporosis, for joint pain, ligament pain. And you know, when people say, oh, I'm having shoulder pain with menopause, and if you look at Chinese medicine, that is your liver gallbladder meridian that is going through hell, stagnated, and you're getting that joint pain. You see how wonderful that is? You can follow the pattern, you can understand it. So I'm saying this to you, that let's be proactive. And I don't know the age range in the audience, but I want us to be proactive. Let us start walking. I don't run because I can't run, but I jog a little bit. But power walk, it can't be a walk that we talking about Mary, Tanti, and Jehoshaphat, and not panting. We have to say it in short spurts. That's how we know we're really exercising. Get a heart rate monitor if you can, because it allows you to know when you're in your fat burning zone, your aerobic zone, your endurance zone. Slight weight lifting. If you can go to a gym, great. If you can get a trainer, great. If not, YouTube. I mean, since COVID, we know that everything is on the web, right? So you do a class. Remember, you could fill up those bottles with sand. You can make your own weights at home if you can't afford them. My point is, let's not make excuses. Let's be proactive. Let's get the family involved so that we are ready for that so-called transition, that we are ready, we're embracing that change, and we're gonna look damn good and feel damn good as we traverse that transition and come out on the other end very, very happy. This is what cupping looks like, because these are actual patients that I have cupped. So when you put the cups, we're using the bladder meridian, and also an extra vessel here. That's what I'm using in the middle. And this is, in this patient, I'm actually doing some menopause treatment here, supporting her meridian. She had low libido, night sweats, feeling blah, no energy. So this is what cupping looks like. And I do fire cupping, but you can also do manual cupping. Other practitioners do manual cupping, but I do fire cupping. So as I mentioned, acupuncture and cupping, we balance the energy in the meridians, supporting your body's transition through menopause, supporting hormonal balance, supporting mental balance, digestive balance, your ligaments, your muscles, and all of that is through supporting the meridians and the energy in the meridians, the vital chi, the yin yang, and the blood in each meridian. For the men out there, what can you do in the workplace, at home? Support your female friends and family. Try to understand and be empathetic. Don't just say, oh God, she gone again, is she hormones? Open dialogue is so good, because I think men need to understand, because just as we go through menopause, women, the men are going through andropause. They may not have it as bad as us, but they're going through andropause. And so just as we have to listen to them, I ask the men in the audience to listen to us, to understand what's happening, to understand that this is a change that your partner or your family member is going through, and they may seem moody, they may seem like just different, they may seem low energy. You know, encourage them, maybe take them for the walk, exercise with them, listen to them and understand, because I can tell you, it's not always as easy as you think it is. And women, as Kellyanne says, we are so accustomed to doing it all that sometimes we have a very brave face, when the reality is it's like a pressure cooker inside. So women, I ask you to speak to your male counterparts, and men, ask them how they're doing. Let me tell you, there is a certain age range. So at least when we get to the mid-40s, that's when you might see a difference in a personality or in different things. And that's important to understand. But I need you men out there to really have an open mind to it, and to speak to your female counterparts and in the workplace, because sometimes in the workplace you might say, oh God, why is she always flying off the handle? Why is she so irritated so bad? And it's really that there's a change and nobody knows how to explain it. And even the person themselves is not understanding what's going on. So this is for you to understand. I'm not saying that everything I mentioned here is only menopause, but what I'm saying is it's a possibility. And that's why your first step, once you see these changes and you understand your body, to please get checked out. Please talk to your doctor, you know, understand your body and do your checkups, because that will allow us to know, is there another problem, or is this your natural transition? And then how can we arm ourselves, be proactive, get that money in that overdraft account, get that savings ready for the purchase of the house, which is going to dig deep and take all that energy from your body. So what's the plan? Know your body, be proactive, lifestyle modification, your annual checkups, and be informed by credible sources, not only social media. And don't be afraid or shy to seek help and talk to someone or someone's, because one is not the cure, but then too many might kill you. You know how it goes. But talk to your sister and have groups, you know, have little powwows, you know, retreats, girlfriend lines, you know, understand it, and don't be afraid to speak about it, because you should not suffer, much less suffer in silence or alone. So we should not look at this natural change, something that is supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be natural. It's supposed to be another aspect to us as women, because we're so multidimensional. It's another change in our life that we should be able to embrace instead of hate. In conclusion, please be proactive, get a partner to exercise, enjoy what you're doing. Don't give up, don't give in, don't feel that you're alone, and don't think of menopause as the end of it all and that you have to suffer at all. Know that this is something we can do. We can eat right, we can exercise, but start now. Don't wait for you to feel the little sweat. Don't wait to feel the little heat. Don't wait to feel, oh God, I ain't able to sex now. Don't wait for that. Let us be informed. Information, education is amazing, and let us start making those little changes that will then allow us to transition much easier. Yeah. So I thank you very much for your time and attention, and I am open to questions. I hope we have lots of questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. LeBlanc. We always look forward to having a session with you, because you really do tell us as it is.
I was wondering, like, oh gosh.
And I can tell you it is an all-female audience. It's a small audience. We just have about 16 persons on, but it's an all-female audience. I
Oh,
was
nice.
hoping we would
This is
have
our little retreat.
exactly so that the ladies could be very comfortable to have, ask their questions. If you want to, it's fine. The one male person here is poor Darvel or IT support, but he's learning a lot, so that's good for him.
It'll prepare him. It'll prepare him.
Yes. I was very happy when you mentioned that men have andropause, so we could, if he's in a mood, we can let him know that's what's happening with him
Are
too.
you okay today?
But we are now open for questions. So if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand. You can raise your hand so we can unmute your microphone. You also have the option of putting questions in the chat box if you have any questions. And I really encourage you to utilize this opportunity to talk to Dr. LeBlanc, ask her anything that you want to ask her. It's very funny. This topic, years ago with our parents and whatnot. So 20 years ago, you didn't even know there was anything called perimenopause, by the way. You just thought menopause arrived and it had to have been somewhere in your 60s. It was always associated with when you retire. So retirement age is 60, and that happens then. And there was no knowledge of anything leading up to that or anything happening. It was just associated that women were just moody. They're just moody. But I think it's been the last year, and it's true, the minute you turn on social media, all you're seeing is about your cortisol level is high,
Cortisol, belly, your
that
menopause.
how to lose belly fat, and it's perimenopause, and all sorts of. And if you're anything like me, I mean, there are moments when Google is my doctor. So it's all kinds of things that it is coming to you. So we do have let me pull up the chat so I can see the questions So Jana is asking, do you feel depressed while in menopause?
Yeah.
Dr. LeBlanc.
So that's so important. People might be wondering, if it's my reproductive organs, how the hell that impacting on my emotions? Do any of you remember what it was being pregnant or even having PMS? Because PMS alone should tell you, yes, you can feel depressed, because what happens is those hormones are fluctuating and it actually affects our emotional centers in the brain. So you can feel down and out. And I mean, some people some people are predisposed to what we call, you remember, if they're women with PMS or PMDD, where they get premenstrual depressive disorder. So sometimes it wasn't diagnosed before, so you were already at risk for it. And so the fluctuation in hormones can lead to depression. But really, from a Chinese medicine perspective, is that there's such a dip in your qi and your vital blood of your heart meridian that your spirit can't rest, and therefore you're feeling the depression. And so that's when we have to balance the yin yang, qi and blood, especially of the heart meridian. So yes, you can feel depressed.
So it's totally normal. And we have another one here. So doctor, can you speak a little about menopause and your bladder?
Oh God, Hannah. Yes, I can. So you see these ads on TV where the bladder is taking the woman to the toilet because she can't hold her pee, and every time she laughs, it's like she peeing herself, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I have to pee again. And so yes, menopause can affect, and this is again the hormonal changes on the valves, the sphincters of the bladder. And also, we do see women that have a little more UTIs or urinary tract infections, and that might be because it's not voiding all the urine. So bacteria are growing, is able to grow in the residual urine. So you get what is like a UTI. So we get like a hormonal cystitis, which is hormonal bladder infections. So then what I recommend, and let me tell you, I might sound like I'm not speaking from personal experience, but I am. So I can be very open that I'm going through perimenopause. It's obvious that I am. And so I noticed that my staff might say I'm always in perimenopause. But so I noticed that I noticed that I was getting what seemed to be a UTI, and I was like, but why is this happening? Because there's no reason for it. I always drink water and whatever. And that's when I had to take my own advice, and I started with something as simple as cucumber water 2-3 times a day, and I used more cucumbers with salt. I had watermelon, I had walnuts, and shada bing, bada bing, and that's fine. So you can get urinary issues with menopause, again, due to the kidney yin yang deficiency. So that's how we boost it, and we have to use the yin tonifiers to help with that. Now, that being said, if you had 10 children, or if you push too hard even with one child, your pelvic floor could have weakened. If your pelvic floor weakens and then now you lose your hormonal balance, what's going to happen? It's going to just go whoosh and leak out. So this is where, ladies, you do your Kegels. From the minute you were young, you should have been doing your Kegels, which is when you pee, stop the pee. That's the muscle you want to use. Even if you're in the bank line, the restaurant line, the KFC line, whichever line you in, if you're in the traffic line, do your damn Kegels. Because if you strengthen that pelvic floor, it helps a lot with tonifying and helping with those issues.
Okay. I have a question. Can people in their 20s have menopause?
So that is where you have the primary premature ovarian failure. So they are in a premature menopause because their ovaries have failed for some reason. So this is where a woman in her 20s, a young woman in her 20s, if she's not seeing her period regularly, if she's having those changes, she does need to go to her doctor. I love that question because she has to get worked up. They have to do ultrasounds, blood testing, CT scans to make sure, number one, that it's not ovarian failure, number two, PCOS, number three, something else happening there. So in 20, it's not normal for you to go through menopause. That's going to be considered premature. So you should get worked up and then take it from there once they determine the cause of it.
Okay. I have someone saying, I can relate to the night sweats, warm days, lots of perspiration, and shoulder and elbow pains. I'm trying my best to fight the lazy feeling and exercise.
Right. So you see, this is the thing. So you know what the mindset should be? Not that you're trying to fight it. I am going to fight it. Yeah. Make sure it's something you like. So for example, I like weightlifting. Some days I like walking. Some days I like dancing. It has to be a part of you. And that's why the younger we start, the better. Now, with all that you're feeling, if you start with those yin tonifying foods and you start to look at them, you will feel the effect naturally, Kellyanne, and whoever did question, on your body. And I'm telling you this from experience. If you eat that sliver of wild yam, cassava, sweet potato, along with the goat or the lamb, with the cucumbers, amazing, with the beans, with the veggies. So what am I speaking about? Wholesome eating along with the exercise and even doing some qigong or tai chi, you'll see a big difference. And that is what we want. So you might feel the drain, but then, like for example, I no longer feel that tired. Yes, you feel tired because you work a long day, you woke up early, whatever, but that, like a vacuum went up your butt and took all your energy out. You don't feel that because you literally, well, that's what it feels like. So you have to tonify and give that reserve back so that you don't feel that drain.
Right. Now, I know it'll be give or take some years here, and for some persons it might be earlier, some persons maybe later. But for perimenopause, what generally is the age that women tend to start entering that? And the reason I say that is because, again, we have in our minds menopause happens when you retire at 60. So
yeah,
what exactly is happening before that? How early does that start that we actually start to think about it and consciously know, okay, let's start to prepare?
Well, first of all, you should ask your mother, your grandmother, your aunties when they went through the change, if they remember. Second of all, according to the textbooks, we're supposed to start around 45, 48, around there, but that may or may not be. You understand? So it varies. And again, as you're clearly saying, first of all, it used to be when you retired, you went into menopause. But remember, our retirement age was younger. And now it's gone further. Now they want to stretch it even further. Maybe we should petition. The women cannot handle anymore. Like, come on now. So it varies, but I would say from the 40s you can start seeing perimenopause. But Kellyanne, it's important to understand that it depends on how you've been living, because if you've been burning the candle at both ends and you have adrenal fatigue and you're just going, you may feel that hit a lot sooner. You understand? So that's possible.
I have a question here. If you have PCOS, does menopause start earlier than normal?
No. so the thing is, PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So this is where your ovaries have a lot of cysts. And what happens is generally we don't ovulate. And I can say we because I have PCOS. Now, that being said, I have 2 children. Well, 2 that I pushed out and then 3, because in case you wonder how come I'm a mother of 5, I pushed 2 out and then I raised 5. So you can still get children, and menopause does not happen earlier. So because you can still, your body can be balanced. So with PCOS, you can balance your body hormonally speaking, and therefore you become, dare I say, normal reproductively. You understand? So it's not a hard and fast rule that you will go into menopause earlier. Now, if you have PCOS and you're not seeing your periods, meaning you're having anovulatory cycles, then you have a lot of estrogen possibly hitting your uterus. Yeah. So the thing is, you may not know when you're going into menopause. Yeah, because you're accustomed to no periods regularly. So it's important for you to have that conversation with your doctor, your gyno, understand your hormones. You should be getting periods every month. I mean, that can be done via the pill. It can be done with herbs. It can be done, in combination, acupuncture, cupping. There's so many options. But when that estrogen is high, you remember menopause, the estrogen goes down. So PCOS, you have high estrogen. So when it's time for those ovaries to shrivel up and say, okay, no more, that's when it's going to go down. You understand? So you have to look at different things. And not to mention, Kellyanne, if we're selectively plump, then we have estrogen in our fat. So we still have more estrogen around. So there's no hard and fast rule. So this is where you get a checkup, know your body, understand your hormonal axis. So for example, I went from having periods twice a year to having periods every month, and to being very, very regular. And I ain't on nothing named pills or medication. Yeah. And I was definitely fertile. So yeah. So, there's no hard and fast rule with our hormones.
So are there reasons? So I mean, we're talking about perimenopause, talking about menopause, and perimenopause, they may have the irregularity of the period, and in menopause, it's gone.
Yeah.
But are there other reasons other than perimenopause when a woman just may not be seeing her period regularly? And I mean, there's PCOS, but
there's
are there other reasons? Because there are women who think, well, oh my God, yeah, I've reached perimenopause, this is happening, let me start to do all these things, and then it's actually, you're not there yet either.
Yeah.
Are there other reasons why these things happen?
Yeah, it's an imbalance in the body. So it's an imbalance in the hormones themselves. And sometimes it could be something as simple as a adenoma in the brain, in the pituitary gland. So prolactin is being secreted, and prolactin is the hormone that we secrete when we're breastfeeding. So you may have irregular periods then because of the pituitary adenoma. I've had women, Kellyanne, who they've had no physiological reason. They can't find any reason. They haven't had periods, and after acupuncture, cupping, and herbs, shada boom, they start to get a period, and then they're like, "Oh God, it came back," or "Oh yeah, it came back." So there are other reasons, and they're Western medicine reasons, totally medical, allopathic. And then we look at the Chinese aspect where there are different energetic imbalances. But don't get me wrong, even the Western PCOS has a Chinese translation. So that's accumulation of phlegm in the lower burner and different things like that. So yes, there are other reasons to answer your question very easily. And it doesn't have to be only PCOS. You have ovarian failure, you have adenomas, prolactinemia, you have thyroid issues, diabetes. You have different reasons why you may be missing your period.
Okay. Can we have situations where you were having the irregular period and then your period starts coming normally, and then you're back again to the 2 periods a year, and then back to every month? Could you have situations where that's
Yeah,
actually
that's
taking
when you're
place?
in perimenopause sometimes, because it's like let me give you a warning, and then let me show you what's normal, and then let me give you another warning. And so that's the thing. So the thing is that if we support the body in this time of
Mhm.
perimenopause, more than likely you will have your regular periods. But then we look and then we see the periods going down in the amount of days, and we look at the
Mhm.
bleeding. Is it the same amount of bleeding? You
Mhm.
understand? How is the blood? So there are different things that we have to look at. But yes, you can have that up and down, and that's what we want to avoid, because that's like
Right.
erratic hormone. So we want to balance the body so that you can transition easier into that menopausal state.
Right. What about, you mentioned, I think in the earlier slides, where menopause is defined as, I think it said 12 months from last period.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have, I think you mentioned someone going 11 months, no period, and bam, period comes. Is it that the
Yeah.
clock starts
It
all
starts all
over
over
again?
again. Yeah, because they're not in menopause. Hate to break it to you. So just your luck. So and that's the thing, because it's so erratic. And so when we balance our body earlier, then that transition is smoother. Yeah. But if we start the balance, sometimes we're balancing, and so your ovaries are like, well, I ain't dead yet. And that is when you get that lanyap child, because you thought you wasn't ovulating. And then
Well,
bada boom, bada bing, you're pregnant at 50. So,
that's what
this
I
is
was just
where,
gonna ask about. What about fertility in
yeah,
perimenopause and that late approach, that late perimenopause stage?
yeah,
A lot of women think, oh well, yeah, no, this has started. I'm good. I don't have to
yeah.
worry about any more children. I'm fine. And then, as you
Fancy
said it,
free. Slam bam, thank you, ma'am. And then
at
next you know, you're buying a
49,
crib.
there you
Yeah.
go.
You go, oops, oops. So be careful, because you never know. Your ovary has, again, remember when I told you, you have millions of eggs, and you don't know what's going to shoot out when it's going to shoot out. You understand? So you never know. And the more balanced your body is, you never know when it's going to say, oh, let me just do one for fun. Yeah. And if that one is a good one, then, because that's the other thing, the longer the eggs are in the ovary, there's more chance for genetic mutations. So that's why we say older women after 35 now, they say it's an advanced maternal age and a high risk factor for certain genetic mutations. And the most common one is Down syndrome. So this is where we say, make sure, be careful, because the longer that egg is in that state of pause of division, the easier it is for genetic mutation. So we want to be very cautious as well where that is concerned.
Right. When we look at, and you said there are things like acupuncture, sorry, and cupping that assist with that transition. It even assists with the hormonal balancing and whatnot. Um, when patients start doing these sessions, on average, and I'm just asking this because of anybody here who might be thinking of doing it, on average, how many sessions might a person be looking at
Yeah.
to
So it
effectively
really
start to feel
feel
the
good.
effect and feel good? Yeah,
Yeah.
feel better at least and feel good.
I I really find it depends on how long it's been going on, how long the woman has been feeling unwell, or out of
Mhm.
balance, I would like to say, because I don't like to look at it as unwell. But I have women who as easy as first session, but the third session, the fifth session, I see them feeling better. And it's so funny, because you never ask a woman, I never ask my patients, so is this happening? Is that happening? You go, so how are you feeling? And you see them looking at you like, I feel good. But then they're not sure. It's like they're afraid. They're afraid to say, I feel good. And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, and so then I have to say, do you feel less bitchy? Do you feel less irritated? Are you getting less night sweats? Are you getting less
Yeah.
pains? Are you feeling more mental clarity? And then I have other women who come bouncing and going, oh my God, I'm ready for my needles. So it really varies. But I would say give it at least 3 to 5 sessions to feel that difference. And, it's not snake oil. And also, it's important to understand it's a very dynamic process. So when I say that is, you have to be open with me if I'm your practitioner or with your practitioner, because but we'll pick up certain things anyways when we do the pulse and tongue diagnosis. So you could come and tell me you're all well put together, and then I'll tell you what's wrong with you. So I ain't a seer woman, but it's that your body will talk. You know what I mean? So it's important to understand that eventually, and you know, with healing, Kellyanne, according to traditional Chinese medicine, as we fix one thing, you may see more symptoms cropping up that they used to have back in the past. It's like an onion, you know? So but that is all the beautiful process of healing. And that's where you embrace your healing. And that's why it's so important and to understand that. So now, you know, I know from a Western standpoint, we all want to know, if I start today, by next month, I'm done and I'm going to feel good. But that's not how your body works, because there's so many other factors. So, you know, when I look at women and I say, well, how are you feeling? And they go, how much longer, girl? And it's like, girl, how are you feeling now? And then they slowly realize that they can look with their glass half full instead of half empty. That they don't care if a coworker has just pissed them off, you know? That they don't care, you know, the husband didn't irritate him just by looking at him eating, he didn't irritate you. You know what I mean? So, you know, those are little things that you look at. How your period, how did you feel before your period, you know? Did you have more pain? Did you feel, you know, a woman said to me today, I felt ovulation pain for the first time in a very long time, you know? And I'm like, oh, that's nice.
That's good
you
news.
know, and it's important because you want, you want to feel your body, listen to your body and understand your body.
Yeah, you know, it's been a lot more. I think in the last 2 years, you've been seeing so many more conversations taking place with women, speaking a lot more about what is going on. And you are correct. Like, you know, again, back in our parents' time, the topic of menopause was like a
taboo.
Taboo. Don't speak about it. It was something you hang your head in shame and you just move along, and you know. But now you have,
you know?
yeah, now you have women speaking more. And I think it's because, one, the knowledge of perimenopause existing and actually starting to take place with people from as early as their late 30s, all through their 40s, you know, and it's actually happening that, yeah, people are just talking about it. And you said, you know, it's good to, you have a little group of friends that you just talk to each other about what's going on. That, oh gosh, you know, I really am not sleeping well these days, or I'm in a really bad mood and I don't know if it's PMS. And you just talk about it, so at least you know you're not going crazy.
You
You're
know,
not the only
sometimes, exactly,
person
because
that's happening with. That other people are actually going through this, and you know, it's not that something is dramatically wrong with you as a woman.
Yeah, because like I was talking to my colleague who is a gynecologist, and I was like, why is it around my period I know I have a vagina? I go, I'm not supposed to know that. It's supposed to just be there. And she was cracking up. And I said, you know, the older I get, the more conscious I am that I have one. And I don't understand this. Like, I just don't need to know that. And she was laughing, and we were sharing her stories, you know, and she was saying to me, yeah, girl. You know, so, you know, it's important to have those conversations. And I'm actually thinking of doing retreats, because I think women need to understand that it's your hormones, the changes in your hormones and the fluctuation in your hormones affect so many cells in your body. So, you know, and there are different changes. And not only that, on top of that comes, what are you experiencing otherwise? So are you stressed out at work? Did you have a lot going on? Did you just get yelled at by your boss? You know, are you overwhelmed? You know, are you losing a family member? You know, something to that effect. And that impacts on what your hormones, what is happening at that time. And that can then impact on what's happening. You know what I mean? Financial woes, you know, the stress we all live in. We feel like we're in a blasted pressure cooker right now. So those are things. And this is why we have to be proactive and find that sisterhood, talk it out, exercise, enjoy that lifestyle, because it has to be a lifestyle, Kelly, and it's not going to be a one stop. Yeah, it has to be a lifestyle.
I know you mentioned just now about work. All of this is happening. How do you deal with all of that in the work?
Well, I laugh a lot.
And I want to laugh right now because I told you the only person that's here is my head of IT. The only man on this, and he's on the market, and I'm laughing because, for example, in our office, predominantly women, like 80, the 80 to 20% is going on there, and I'm laughing like, poor fellas, how do they
Poor
deal with
fella.
all
Yeah,
of this?
yeah,
With
yeah. And
all
that's
of
what
that going on with
and
us
that's why we
women in the
want the men to
office.
understand what's going on. Because in work, I always used to say I can't work with a lot of women. There's just too much estrogen. You understand? Which
Yes,
is a sexist thing to say, but
I
it's
say the same
interesting.
thing sometimes, don't worry.
But the
A
thing
lot of
is that
women, it's hard
It's,
sometimes.
it is, and you don't know what has happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is where it's important to have that break. And you know what I do, Kelly? And I must admit, some days I recognize I'm flying off too easily. Something is not right, and I go, you know what? Let me take a deep breath. Let me center myself before I start again. And that is important because I understand my body and I know my body. So that is what's important. And so that's what I recommend that. And well, you know me, I laugh a lot. So
Yeah.
I have kicks all the time and I crack up but I honestly have always been trying to look at things glass half full and always trying to have a positive outcome. Now, there are days when you're going to be bad shit crazy and you're going to be down in the dumps. You know what I mean? But
Mhm,
you have
mhm.
much more highs than lows. So understanding that and understanding, and it's like if I'm working with you and I understand your energy, then I could say, Kelly, what's going on? You
Mhm.
understand?
Yes.
And maybe some chocolates, some M&Ms, or maybe a laugh, but
Yeah.
have, so that is what is important, that it's a true sisterhood. And sometimes I find women are our own worst enemies because we don't
Mhm.
have a true sisterhood. And I'm not knocking women at all. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that we also have traversed a huge stressful period of our lives and we've been in fight or flight all the time. So now that we've been in fight or flight, we haven't been able to restore and rejuvenate. And we have
Mhm.
to take time to rejuvenate. And because, Kelly, I don't know if you find this, but I found that we lost a lot of empathy and humanity along that way.
Oh,
And we have to
definitely.
regroup and get that back because that's what
Oh,
makes
yeah.
us beautiful. You know what I mean? So, for
Yes.
example, I have the honor and privilege of traveling sometimes to smaller islands which have sea and sun and sun, and I'm a mainland girl. I'm Guyanese, right? So it's I find that I appreciate the birds more, the bees more, the flowers more, being mindful of my environment and taking those breaks are very important. But I like talking to people and
Mhm.
listening to them more than talking to them to understand and hear and see. But I really think that all of us as women right now, we have to now regroup, restore, because we're still in fight or flight. However we look at it, if we
Oh,
have
yeah.
young boy children who are teenagers, we awake till they reach home. You understand? If we have
Yeah,
young girl
that's true.
children, we
That's
awake till
true.
they reach home. The husband might be working, we die until he get home. Sometimes they get home and you're still vexed because you don't know who gonna break down the door. So it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So we really have to, so when workplaces do seminars like this, or
Mhm.
when we do mental health days, or when you do retreats, we have to look at it differently because we have to understand each other's energy. And we do have to start to restore and regroup, because if not, then that's where it becomes worse, because we're in
Yeah.
fight or flight. So you're not
Yeah.
balanced. And so there's
Yep.
no store, there's no reserve, and so there's nothing to give. There's nothing left to give. So you're gonna
Yep.
buy the house, but you'll have not a shit to put in it. There's
No,
nothing
and
else.
it's so true because I mean, COVID seems like a lifetime ago. It was just what 20, what 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago.
2019, 2020 to
And
2023, and COVID's still here. We're in a little post-pandemic
yeah,
phase.
it's still here, but the pandemic, the whole lockdown, and people are still. It's been a while, but as many people have embraced going out again, there are a lot of people that still hold on to a lot of anxiety with it, and you're correct. COVID is still that pandemic, still haunts a lot of people. It has impacted a lot of individuals just in the
If you
anxiety
are
and the
in, tell me,
stress and just the
yeah,
little things. And that's why I asked about things like some of these symptoms that we're seeing, the irregular periods and all of that, and you may not
Can be
even be,
attributed to stress.
yeah, you're not near 40, but that has started to happen.
And it can happen, yeah.
I mean, I know one person who thinks she's anxious all the time. The slightest thing happens, it's the anxiety flares up, and
yeah,
you know, a lot of it is triggered from what happens,
and that
what
person is in
happened
fight
during
or flight.
COVID.
Exactly, that person is in fight
Yeah.
or flight, has not been able to restore, and therefore
Yeah.
has nothing to give. And so, Kelly, you know, like me, I could be in a supermarket, and the minute I hear a cough, I want to know how close that cough was to me and what happening, because
Listen,
I
Dr.
ain't dealing with
LeBlanc,
no cough, right?
that's
I
me.
don't
When I
want
hear
no
somebody
cough.
cough, I spin around and I'm ready to pull out a little hand sanitizer. My husband.
Yeah. I was on a plane, yes. Then I heard a cough. I was like, oops. And you look at it, you know, it's like, yeah, I ain't playing with that. So we're still
my husband,
traumatized, and we have to.
The checklist when we're going out, check for everything. You have the hand sanitizer, make sure you have the hand sanitizer. And if we're out and it happens to be a good amount of people, it's like a level of anxiety. Okay, you don't know who's sick, who not sick. And when it comes back, vitamin C one time, and it's left us feeling, you know.
So this is where we have to try and regain the balance.
Exactly.
And this is where we have to actively say, you know what? I am going to be better.
Yeah.
And I will take control. And that's what's so important, because if we don't, we're going down a slippery slope.
Absolutely.
You know? So this is where meditation, qigong, speaking your fears out, being in touch with your fears, and understanding, because we have gone through tremendous stress that we didn't realize.
Correct. I know I'm asking all the questions and we're having all this conversation, and our members here are very quiet. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to ask a question? Want to talk to Dr. LeBlanc? This is your opportunity to ask and you know.
Oh, there's somebody in your lobby.
I also realized I forgot to turn on the light, so I'll do that in a second. But yes, take the opportunity to ask all the questions here, and don't be bashful. It's only women on this chat and nobody is judging anybody, and I'm not calling any names for any question that is asked. So feel free and comfortable to ask what you need to ask or say what you need to say.
And I think, you know, it's important to see, because I won't tell a lie, social media gives me ideas, and it opens my mind to certain things, but also take it with a pang of salt and understand it. There may be truth out there, but then there is still a lot of people who are just preying upon your fears that have been taken off of what you may have Googled search for, and so forth. So just you know, take it with a pang of salt, and you know, don't be afraid to verify it, there I see.
Oh, here we go. We have some questions. So I have one. What age does menopause end? Let me put on the light. I forgot to put on the light.
Yeah.
To answer that question.
So menopause ends. So menopause ideally, well, you see, it depends on when it starts. So remember, from that year, that you didn't have that period, you're in menopause, and then you go into postmenopause, right? But that's the thing, menopause doesn't really have an end. It's a transition. It's a part of your reproductive cycle, and from menopause you go into postmenopause. So it really depends on that year of no period, then you're menopausal, and then going on to postmenopause. And I would say once you are now in your new norm, your new, I don't have any night sweats, but I feel good. I haven't had my period for a year and I'm good. That's when it's so-called ending. But don't call it an end, call it a transition. That's how your mindset should be.
So essentially, it's when those symptoms kind of ease, and when you're in menopause and then those symptoms ease, that's when you might be calling the postmenopausal.
Yeah, that's when you might say end, but it really ain't got no end, because you never know. You know, the person goes, OMG.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, don't be like that. Use what I told you. Use the cucumbers, the watermelons, the walnuts. try different things, and you'd be surprised at how you won't be saying OMG. You'll be like, I got this,
I saw a small video that you did. I think it was on Victoria Clinic's page,
Yeah.
where you were talking about was it hot flashes?
Yes.
And you said cucumber water and your walnuts.
Yes. I
And then
believe
it helps.
strongly in that. It's yin tonifying. And I mean, that's not all, but just giving you little tips, on things you can
Right.
do. And if it
Right.
doesn't work, well, then, let's do some more. But I'm
Right.
serious. I have seen, now I've tested it out on myself, even though I studied it and believe in it. I've tested it out on myself, and I'm telling you, ain't nothing like that, It's good stuff. And and along with my exercise program and everything,
Right. So we've got someone asking, if you have fibroids and you go through menopause, do the fibroids go away eventually?
Most times they don't go away, they shrink, because fibroids are most times estrogen dependent, so they need estrogen to grow.
Okay.
So that's why if a fibroid is not bothering you too much, we tell you hold on, especially if you're close to menopause, because it's gonna ease up and you won't have a problem. Sometimes the fibroids are very big, so your belly just looks big, and so you want to take it out. But sometimes they shrink with menopause, so you have no problem. So yes, to answer that question, yes, they don't go away, but they shrink because of lack of estrogen.
And I have someone asking here, so doctor, where can you get some of those Chinese medicines that you mentioned?
Victoria Clinic, baby.
So you will have, I noticed that you might have people go in and trying to buy all kind of Chinese medicine now.
No, so let me put that caveat. You have to know which Chinese medicine you're buying. You have to understand the source of the Chinese medicine. So I do at Victoria Clinic, we do create formulas. And most of my formulas are individualized. I do have some standalone formulas that people can come in and just buy, but I do prefer that they come and have a consultation, because we have to understand what's going on. I also have to understand if you have any comorbid conditions. We all know that word comorbid, because then some herbs may interact with whatever medication you're taking. So it's not either or, it's all complementary. So it's important to get that done. And sometimes we need to add acupuncture or cupping to it. But to answer your question in a nutshell, yes, I do sell Chinese medicine in formulas. Yeah. And I use a mix of Chinese, Western, and Ayurvedic herbs for my formulas.
So yes, please, people, don't just run out and start to buy Chinese herbs.
Yeah, don't just go buy what I said and Yin Yang Ho and Romania and Primrose and no.
Because you might have
let me do a formula or get a certified herbalist. And there are some established Chinese formulas, depending on what's happening, that we do recommend, like Siwu Tang, Romania 6, Romania 8, or it's called Lu Wei Di Huang or Ba Hui Di Huang. And so there are other formulas, there's Xiaoye San and some others, but most times we see that we have to do some formulas that are more complex for menopause.
Now you see some, and again, this is maybe it's clearing up some of the things that you may see on the internet, TikTok and everywhere else. So they say, okay, in perimenopause, you should not do the weight training because that's too much on your joints and your weights, but you should do Pilates and you should do this. And then on the other end, you're seeing that some sort of weight training is good because it helps build muscle and that. So you're getting these opposing things that you're seeing, and you haven't gone to a doctor to tell you what to do, and you're trying to just lose a little weight and feel a little better, but then you're getting these conflicting messages and you don't know what really is supposed to do.
It's interesting you say that. Now, as a clinical densitometrist for bone health, we say lift weights. We say climb stairs. So I would never tell a woman in perimenopause not to lift weights. Not to mention, lifting weights helps with the endorphins. It makes you feel happy. It helps with your testosterone. It helps with your muscle mass. So you look like you lost 10 pounds when you might have lost 1 ounce, because it brings you in. You got more muscle mass. And you feel much better and you're stronger. For example, there's so much prescribed, like don't do fasting, don't intermittent fast, when to intermittent fast. So what I say is speak to a professional, understand it, but also, Kellyanne, listen to your
Mhm.
body and know how it feels.
Right.
Because whatever I tell you, if you don't like it, you're not going to do it, and you're not going to feel happy about it. So it's important that you do listen to your body. You know what I mean? So sometimes my trainer tells me, Asante, do X, Y, Z. And I go, oh, no, 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 no. I go, no, I can't do that. That's, I only see that in movies. You know what I mean? And then she goes, can you please just try one? And then you see you could do it and you go,
You can do
damn,
it.
diggity damn, you know, you've improved. And so it's important not to underestimate yourself. And take it from me, I've had 3 open knee surgeries. I've been through COVID, not being able to walk, breathe, that kind of thing. And so I am amazed each day by the miraculousness of your body and the miraculousness of your mind. And I say this not in a boastful manner, but it's just that it's amazing what we do if we just take out the negativity and the I can't do it, and then be surprised, be pleasantly surprised at how you feel. And truly, I mean, drinking it's water, cucumber water, not having, you don't miss the sugars, like
Yeah.
you don't miss those things. I used to be somebody walking through a grocery, I had to pick up some chips because I need that salt fix. Now it's like, oh, I think I'll just fry my own plantain. I'll have that at home. Like I was in Miami the other day and I said, my aunt is walking through. She goes, how come you're not picking up nothing in that aisle? I go, it's like no more. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't feel, that don't mean I don't want chocolate ice cream. I still eating my chocolate ice cream. But you choose your
Yeah.
poison. You pick your poison and you
Right.
understand how it feels and you know how to work with it. And that's
And
what's important.
you're more disciplined as well. I mean, I'm a salt person. They tell me at home I over salt the food. I'll put extra salt in the popcorn, all those things. But in the last couple of months, I've been working on losing a little weight, being a bit better in terms of my eating, my exercising. And yeah, there's a bag of potato chips in the kitchen that I haven't touched. Then normally the same day I buy it is open and whole bag finish one time.
And
So it's
yeah.
the better decisions, and you realize when you start to discipline yourselves and just you discipline yourself just in little ways. When that sets, you actually don't really miss it as much. Just like you, yes, I like my little piece of chocolate, and after lunch I need one little sweet thing to eat, but may not be overdoing it.
And the
You
thing is,
know?
Kellyanne, that when, according to Chinese medicine, for example, you say, I like my salt. But that could have been that you're yin deficient because the flavor for the kidney is salt. You understand? So sometimes it's like sugars and so forth. And so that's why it's important to understand that sometimes if we really listen to our bodies, it might be something else that's needed. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that is also something that we have to look at.
Okay. There's a question I wanted to ask, and while we were talking there, it went off my head.
Ooh,
Anyone else want to
perimenopause, brain
ask?
fog.
Oh, that was it. That was the brain fog. That was it. That was it. So when you look at the list, you had the whole night sweats and moodiness, and I'm like, oh, that brain fog is one of them, boy, because there are
Yeah.
days when you sit down and it's like your brain
Yeah.
can't process the things you need to process. And on a good day, you're good. You're alert and you're on the ball and everything is great. And then there are these days when there's some brain fog taking place. And a lot of people I remember associated that
The
with
COVID.
COVID. And
Yes,
they said it
yes.
was COVID. So COVID kind of got the blame for a lot.
Everything.
The COVID and the vaccines got the blame for a lot of things that we're recognizing now with women. It's actually just you might have started perimenopause, or you in that stage where you're now getting to perimenopause or something like that.
But the other thing is, Kellyanne, that the vaccines impacted on our reproductive cycles. So we
Yes.
got heavier periods, we got different periods. So it's a mixture. It's very, very mixed up right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
between COVID, the vaccine, and menopause, perimenopause, that brain fog is real. And I definitely use acupuncture and herbs for my brain fog. Mine was
Yeah.
definitely COVID related. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
At one point I was like, oh my God, can I still be a doctor? And then it's like, oh my
No, I
God.
can tell you
But
how that there are days when I sit down and I'm like, I don't, I'm being very unproductive today. Like I can't concentrate, or I take an entire day just to do one report. When a normal day I could churn out bunch of stuff, you know. So yeah,
yeah,
it's different. So that's me saying, okay, so when going through pre, well, I guess that's peri, going through peri or menopause, and you're lifting weights, is it okay to take protein powder?
yes, yes. So I was having a discussion with a patient. Now y'all gonna think I'm lying, but that's what happens in my life. And he and I are trying to decide which protein powder is the best one. So I'm
Right.
still researching because there's so much out there, so many different protein powders. So from what I've learned so far, we have to look at the whey, the actual
Yeah.
whey that's in the protein powder, and see the benefits, and see, because there are also some carcinogenic or cancer risks with certain protein powders. So it's important to look at the labels and do some research. So,
Right.
you know, there's the ISO Pure, there's the all kinds of things. So you really have to
Yes.
do research. I'm still, I must admit, researching it. My aunt, for example, she and I were talking. She introduced me to one protein powder, and that constipates me. She's fine on it. So, you know, again, not one size fits all, and hers is really nice,
Yeah.
but it's not working for me. I rather not
Yeah.
have muscle mass and be constipated, you know, that kind of thing. So it's we do have to research some more, and so look at the quality of the protein powder.
Right. Okay. Does perimenopause period include migraine?
Yes, because of the yang. So the false yang, the false extra yang. So that's due to the liver yin deficiency, and there's liver yang rising. So that's when you get migraines. So that's when we support the liver meridian and help to calm that down to help you through that transition.
Yeah, Dr. LeBlanc, you might have a good few patients lined up outside for consultations.
You
Because
know,
there's so
follow
much
us on
to
social
it's so
media,
much to
on our
understand.
socials. Yeah.
Yeah,
Follow us
it's
on our
it's
socials, send us messages, and we're happy to help. And then come visit us as well. You know, I can't tell you that appointments are easy. They're not very, very difficult, but they're also a little challenging sometimes. But they're, you know, it's definitely where you can get help, and that's important. You know, that's what's
yeah,
important.
because it is amazing, you know, as yes, we're born as females, and then you start to see a period, and it's one way, and then it becomes this there's this age period where it changes, and yeah, you suddenly start to get headaches, and your moodiness is a little more, and you know it things dramatically change, and you don't even and it may not even be that you're in perimenopause, it's probably the perimenopause or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
But
And
you're
and
heading towards perimenopause. You're not even
yeah.
there yet, but things have changed where you're starting to feel differently. And then you have to deal with perimenopause and then menopause.
Exactly. And that is also because of how holistic we may or may not be, and how
Right.
we're living and what is happening. So that's why we're saying be proactive about your energy and your fatigue and your adrenal system.
Right. I have a question here. Is there any connection between perimenopause and acid reflux or
H.
I
pylori.
that's it, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So yes. Again, you could have a lot of stress. You could have different factors to cause H. pylori acid reflux or H. pylori infection, which is Helicobacter pylori, which is a bacteria associated with acid reflux. But remember when I told you about the hormonal influence on sphincters? So it's like when you're pregnant, you get acid reflux because it relaxes the sphincters. And so the acid comes up when you're pregnant, not to mention that big uterus pressing there and it all shoots back up. But then in perimenopause and menopause, there's the imbalance of the spleen stomach meridian. And therefore you can have rebellious chi and acid reflux. So, you know, that's the beautiful thing or the ugly thing, that there is an answer. And so this is where being proactive, remember I said don't eat cold raw foods, you know, have
Right.
warming foods, use that cinnamon,
Yes.
ginger, turmeric, aniseed, star anise, cardamom, golden milk.
Right.
Those are things that will help you in terms of tonifying and rectifying your stomach spleen chi, and therefore helping you with acid reflux. Knowing when, so for example, I don't know if you notice this, but I'm getting younger, and I find that there's certain things that definitely remind me that I'm getting younger. where food is concerned. So then I go, but by God, I have to eat my pepper. I have to eat my achar. You know what I mean? So it's how you eat it. Are you going to have it with something else? You know, using lumni, using fermented foods, using more. So gut health is very important for menopausal and perimenopausal women, for anybody on the whole. Gut health is important. And this is where fermented foods come in, be it the yogurts, the sour cream, the cottage cheeses, the lumni, the raita, which is with the cucumber and the yogurt. So if you think about how our ancestors ate, you understand, you will see where they actually use these foods. Kimchi, fermented cabbage, but we forgot how they ate. You know, you remember, you know, so when grandma used to make, and my grandmother said that I am born black, but like I am Indian all through, right? Because all I do is eat curry, right? So, you know, and the things our grandparents tell us. So I, you know, when you look at how you used to eat, was it the roti with the veggies plus the achar, or the lime pepper plus the raita? Did you have yogurt? You remember the lassi? You drank the lassi, you know? So when we look at those things, you see, you know, it's like the Turkish, I watch Turkish shows. Okay, so you found out something crazy about me. And they have this drink, right? And it's called gosh, I can't remember the name. It's like Irana or something like that. But I went to Switzerland and saw it, and I was like, oh, I have to taste this, you know, because it looks like they were using it during Ramadan, especially on my shows. And you know, it's fermented, so it helps me with my digestion. So yes, to answer your question, it can be related to perimenopause and menopause. It's all about tonifying the meridians and rectifying the chi.
And you know, you were saying something there about our parents and grandparents eating those things back in there, and it's very true. I remember with my mom as well. This on dal and rice, she would tell us she could eat it every day, and she did,
Every
you know,
day. And guess
bhaji,
what?
eating with the hand, and
Yeah,
you know, back then too, everything was natural.
everything was natural.
The
When Tanti make her
vegetables,
coconut
everything.
oil,
Yeah,
yeah,
there wasn't, it
yeah.
was very, very natural. And that's why you found like that generation living very, very long. I mean, my mom lived to 91
Dang,
and
that's what you have
nothing.
to look forward to.
I can only pray to be that age. And I mean, she didn't have any issues until I think her late 80s, and her doctor basically said, this aging is nothing's wrong. There's no illness. This is just now, this is aging with her. But it
Yeah,
was very natural food, and you find that our food now, even though we think it might be natural, you might have pesticides in it, you might have something, and that is also
exactly.
affecting
So
our
this is where,
digestive
yeah.
system. And you know, so I have
So this
someone
is
saying,
where
I
you
realize the
uh,
person saying, I realize I can't have pepper and red meats, even vegetarian cheese now.
so the thing is, like, you know, to all the vegetarians out there, why are you eating cheese if you're a vegetarian? Like, I mean, it's beyond me, but don't tell them I said that, you know? Um, you know, so my advice to D is, you know, I'm not saying eat pepper. You have to look at the quality of the pepper, how much
Mhm.
pepper, but even with red meats, I'm not saying you have to eat them because we do see a change in our digestive system, but I'm saying maybe what you put on it. So the spices you put on the red meat, the ginger and so forth may help you assimilate it a little more.
Mhm.
Sometimes currying is better, sometimes grilling with garlic and ginger. So just see how, but know your body and listen to your body, because sometimes it's just also the quality of the red meat that you can't have.
Yeah.
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 So it's like chicken. There's certain chicken I can't eat, and then there's certain chicken I can eat. You know what I mean? There's shrimp I can't and shrimp I can't. So my body's
Right.
become more sensitive, but it's also that my body's become much more clean because I've decided to pay attention to exactly what goes into it. Now, vegetarian cheese, girl, I don't eat vegetarian cheese. I eat real cheese. But you know, I would say see how it goes, you know, maybe try real cheese. You know, people are afraid of dairy a lot. So I often say use cinnamon or peppers or fermented foods with the dairy, and that will help with the energetics and help to digest it better as well.
So I'm laughing too because you keep talking about ginger, and when I tell you I don't like ginger, I don't like the
Oh
taste
my
of
gosh,
ginger.
I
You
love
can have a
ginger.
oomph inside of that food, and I will pick up that has ginger in it, you know, and I am well aware of the health benefits of ginger.
And that's okay. Some people don't like Karaili, and I eat Karaili raw. So
Yeah,
yeah.
my mother loved Karaili. I'm not a fan at all.
Yeah. I just
But
love
I
that
think
bitterness, man. It's amazing.
so I've realized, like with me, I can't eat very oily foods anymore. So I used to be able to eat anything, but now I could tell you if something has too much oil in it because of the heartburn that I will get.
But it's not only that, it's the
So
quality of oil. It's what
it's
oil they're
probably the
using.
quality of the oil. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, long ago you could eat a fried palauri and not have a problem. Now you're feeling it burning on your chest. It's like sitting on your
Yeah.
chest there, and it's like, oh, what the hell? So
Mhm.
and that's where I say, look at the quality and look at the what we're eating, where it came from. Understanding that is so important because
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to this thing where we have to stop eating everything and like we don't have a life no more. It's like you can't eat nothing, you're eating
Yeah.
cardboard.
You can't
You know what I
enjoy
mean?
anything.
I like to enjoy my plate of food, be it a saucer or a bowl. I must enjoy that. So I think it's about looking at speaking to your greengrocer, speaking to your farmers,
Yeah.
speaking to whoever, understanding, I know where I buy my eggs from, and I'm not saying you can't be a vegetarian. Please don't get me wrong. But I'm saying understand your body and know if it is for you. You know what I mean? Like I need to eat meat. Like when I was sick, Kellyanne, I could tell you I was eating pure fish and chicken. And when I got sick, I called my husband from the hospital. I was like, okay, so the steaks in the freezer, get them out. Because my body is just craving red meat. But that's because I listen
Yeah.
to my body. So I'm thinking,
Yeah.
listen to your body, understand and feel. You'll see what it needs, and it's not a craving. It's literally the energies. And that is how
Right.
like edamame, which is soya beans, but don't overdo it because it is soy. Using the kimchi, using the fermented drinks. What do you call them again? Kombuchas, kefirs, and understanding that when to use sesame seeds, simple things as sesame seeds, the ginger you don't like, the garlics, and understanding that because the different flavors tonify the meridians as well. Or if you look at Ayurveda, the doshas. You understand? So you have to look at that to help get the body in balance. And it's not that I
Yeah.
don't do Western medicine. It's just that when you look at it holistically, there is an answer. It's not one thing. It's very, very multifaceted.
And that's what I was just gonna say. And it's refreshing to hear all of that because you go to a regular, not that I'm saying you're not a regular doctor, Dr. LeBlanc, but you know what I mean, right? A regular doctor, they'll take the blood test, they'll check everything, and then give you a prescription this long with all kind of different tablets that you need to take to try and solve all these things. Whereas a lot of it might just be going back to how we
Basics.
eat
Yeah,
and how we
yeah. How
exercise
you
and just
sleep, how you
finding that balance.
exercise.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I know when I don't sleep properly, I get a feeling like, oh my God, it's terrible. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
when you get that, good night's sleep, you feel a whole different type of feeling when you wake up in the morning,
yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
But one
And
question I wanted to ask,
mhm,
and this is really for a friend of mine. So I know you said perimenopause symptoms can actually start when you from like I would say in your 40s. So from like I think you said 45, but maybe even before that. But what about
mhm,
someone who might be 36 years old? Can they
yeah,
start getting symptoms from it? So I have a friend anytime she's getting her period, she starts getting heart palpitations. And she just describes it as just, like a little pain here, and a little pain here. And I keep telling her, you need to go by a doctor to see, make sure that everything's all right
right.
with your
So
heart.
especially if it's when her period is coming, so she is
Hmm.
going through some hormonal changes, and it's impacting her, not her heart, but her heart meridian. And that, so what she's
Ah,
getting is almost something like an anxiety induced by hormonal changes. So the PMDD, instead of depression, she's getting anxiety. So it could be that. So she has to be checked out, rule out there's no heart issue. But if it's coming only with her PMS or just before her
yeah,
period, more than likely it's hormonally induced. And so,
yeah. I told her,
you get checked out, make sure all is well. But yeah, there's certain things you can use. I mean, simple things as jujube date, daizao, using, and this is without me seeing her, chamomile, tulsi,
right?
preparing for that PMS period. and looking at how you eat as well, because the heart meridian probably needs some tonification along with the liver meridian.
Yeah, I told her get ready for when she hits her 40s. That's a whole different ball game.
You see, people like you not working out. You know, it's like your grandmother used to say, hold on, pick me, your time will come. They had no solutions for us. They're just like, wait till your time comes. You know, you didn't help your friend. I don't know, man. If I were her, I'd throw you away. But no, you're like, wait till your 40s. You offer no help. You're like, oh girl, you think that bad? Wait till you get older. You know, so it's after you've said that and made them feel bad, then you could tell them, you know, maybe just tonify and qigong, tai chi, but definitely go to your doctor, get checked out, make sure everything
just
is
to
good.
rule out everything
Yeah,
is good. And
for
I mean,
sure.
that's also the importance of, and I think this is just generally, I mean, we were talking about perimenopause and menopause and other things that affect women, but that annual checkup is really, really important. I mean,
It's so important.
take this
Yeah.
from the person who did not like going to doctors, and my husband would know when I wasn't really feeling well, because the minute I said I have a doctor's appointment, he stopped me like, honey, you're really feeling sick because you're going to the doctor. But in the last couple of years, and I think COVID has helped with this, I am more diligent with doing my annual medical every year.
Yeah.
And it is really important because, as you said there, you know, do the blood test, you check things, and you can see where things are started to happen, and you can, you know, start to prepare for any changes that may happen, or you pick up anything that might be wrong.
And
you pick it up
you know,
early.
it's so important that you said that, because we're seeing more and more early detection, younger women needing to get checks, and you're seeing different things, and so it's so important to understand your body, you know. And you know what, Kellyanne, to be empowered with the information and to not be afraid of a diagnosis, because there is always, the last thing you lose is hope, and that is what is important.
Yeah, that was almost my thing. I was like, what I don't know is not going to hurt me. And then I said, you know what? Better I know and I deal with it than not know and then just wake up one day where I cannot deal with it because it's too far.
Exactly.
So, do we have any more questions for Dr. LeBlanc? Because we are closing in on the 7 p.m. Time. Of course, you know, if you don't want to ask your questions here, you can also find Dr. LeBlanc at Victoria Clinic. So you can call and schedule your consultation with her. If you think that you need to do a consultation or you want to chat further, and she has shared the link to the clinic. So by all means, you can get onto them and you can schedule a consultation with Dr. LeBlanc. And you can follow them also on their Instagram page. Okay.
Oh, we have Facebook, but if you go Instagram, I don't know. They say old people use Facebook, but
this might be fine. But there's all the information here. We have all the information here from Dr. LeBlanc.
Yeah, they say my children said only old people use Facebook. So I linked my Facebook to my IG. I'm not on TikTok yet. They think I should go on TikTok, but I'm afraid of TikTok. I'm addicted to TikTok, but I don't want to be on TikTok.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so if we have no further questions, so I'm going to do the wrap up. So I really want to extend our gratitude to Dr. LeBlanc for taking time out this evening to facilitate this session and for sharing so much of her knowledge with us. I think everyone has learned a lot from this evening, and it's not about, you know, being afraid of menopause being taboo and all of that, or that any of us are old in any form or fashion, but it is kind of taking that preventative approach and getting ready for it, even as early as our 30s, start taking care of ourselves more, you know, eating better, exercising more, things like that, so that when that time comes for us, that transition is a little smoother. So a special thank you to Victoria Clinic for partnering with us on this session, and we really look forward to working together on future sessions. I would like to let everyone know that today's session has been recorded. It will be placed on our website, www.mysecu.com, along with this evening, presentation, so that you can always go back and reference it should you need to. Just to let you know about what's coming up, CECU will be hosting a free mortgage webinar, on the 4th of June, 2024. I will be facilitating that session, and we really will be talking about planning for taking a mortgage, understanding the mortgage process at CECU, and also talking a bit about some of the tricks that the banks use to catch persons. So things
Now
to
you're
look
gonna
out
tell me
for.
that when I already take out my mortgage.
So we encourage all of our members who will be looking at home ownership to please register for the webinar online. So we have come to the end of this evening's session, and we really would like to thank everyone for joining us. We really hope that this session has been beneficial. It has been informative. I know it was engaging because I think every session, Dr. Blabla just has that personality. So that any session she facilitates, it's an engaging one. So I want to thank everyone for attending this evening. Thank you very much, Dr. LeBlanc. Thank you to all the members, and wishing everyone a good night.
Thank you so much for having me, and
You're
enjoy.
most welcome.
And I'll see you later. And
Take
women,
care.
don't be afraid. Enjoy that. Embrace it. And Kellyanne, thanks again.
You're most welcome. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.